Alright, so this video is about why you're not sub 10 with Roux, so let's get into it. So just going through the move count splits, not much is going to change in terms of efficiency. The only thing I would say is pretty easy to improve on is first block. You can use the first block trainer, or you can just try to find more efficient blocks in inspection. And basically what it's going to come down to is you're going to find different cases or different recurring patterns or different pairs that can be done very efficiently, and that will let you influence the other pair. So if you see a pair that you've seen a lot of times before, it's probably going to be an efficient block because you know exactly how to solve it, and you probably know a really efficient way to do it. For time splits, these are just a few that I came up with that are pretty general. I feel like most Roux solvers have a stronger LSE than second block, so that's why LSE is 2.7. And CMLL, I wrote 2, but at this point you could probably be sub 2 with that. Yeah. So in inspection, you want to make sure you can find this DR edge. So with this blue-white block, it's this green-white. And what that lets you do is it lets you eliminate any first block to second block transition. So once you're done first block, you know exactly where this is going to be. And the reason I emphasize finding this so much is because any 2x2x1 square, whether it be this red one in the front or the orange one in the back, is going to involve this white piece. Now you don't have to just do like a U prime R2. You can either pair the corner with it and like do a block building type thing, or you can do like U prime R wide 2 to maybe bring the edge to the top, or U prime U R prime to flip the corner if it has white on top. So you can experiment with that influencing stuff. First block, all you're gonna want to improve on is turning speed. By now, as I said, your first block to second block transition will be a lot better once you can plan DR. So all you need to do is turn fast in first block and make sure you just get through it quickly, and make sure you're taking advantage of those advanced finger tricks I talked about in the sub 12 video. Okay, this is where it gets a little interesting. So second block, I have this sort of diagram of a sine wave, so starting at a point of inflection. So in the y-axis, we have TPS, and the x-axis, we have time. So at the beginning of your second block, you start turning at a medium speed. This is when you just found your DR, and then you speed up. So maybe at this point, you've found the two pieces that we need to make the square. Here, you're building the square, and then at the end of the square, you start to slow down. So there's the first square right here. And then at this point, in this little, around this minimum, you start looking ahead to your last pair. And then once you find your last pair and you know how to solve it, you just, all the way up to that max. TPS goes crazy. Okay, for CMLL, what you want to do now is learn 2 algs for every CMLL case. One that flips edges and one that doesn't flip edges. So you see these 3 pi cases, they're all the same CMLL, but I'll show you how you can influence it. So for this one right here, we have just 2 edges flipped right here. So you do standard alg, F R U R prime U prime twice, and then F prime, and that forces an EO skip because it flips these 2. But if you have this right here, where all the edges are oriented, you're going to want to do the 2 gen 1 to force an EO skip. And then here, this white signifies that these 2 are flipped and also the 2 on the bottom. If you do just your standard alg that you learned from before, you'll actually get a 6 flip, and you don't want that. So you do this, and that actually forces, avoids a 6 flip and forces the 2 on bottom that are adjacent, 2 on bottom opposite, so it's just M2 to arrow. So just knowing this is very useful, then you'll just never get 6 flips. So nice. LSE, here's some just general tips. There's not much to say here. Just want to start turning faster because now you know all your EO cases. You can look ahead to your LR edges. So yeah, just keep that good look ahead. Start experimenting with advanced techniques just as before. So maybe look into some EOLR and skipping dots. So basically you want to predict when you're going to get dots and insert the LR edges differently. So you skip it. And I have a video on that, and there are quite a few on YouTube. So you can go watch those. So now let's do a slow solve, and I'll try to get sub 10. And I'll be turning at about 5 TPS, and we'll see how this goes. That wasn't too bad, I guess. So now we'll be taking a look at Waffo solve and looking at what he could have done better and what he did. So in case you don't know, Waffo was one of the original people to make the Roux method more popular and help advance it. And he's been cubing for a long time now, about 8 years. So I think it's really interesting to critique his solve. So he saw this red pair right here and decided to do this red block with white bottom. So he held it like this with green top, white front, did U, rotated X prime, MU, M prime to make this pair, rotated again and did U prime. Then he solved this pair with RU, RU, and then pair them up like that, and inserted the back. So the first part of the block was pretty good, except I didn't like the rotations. Generally, you don't want to be rotating, maybe once, but that's really it. So if I would have to do it like that, I'd do F, MU, M prime, F prime. But I think I'd do it like this. I'd do D and U prime at the same time. So DU prime, and then pair this with this, and then D prime. And then for this pair, instead of going like that, I'd do RU prime R. Now this is in the back, this is right above it, so U prime, M prime, back prime. For his second block, Waffo saw this piece and these two, so he inserted this at the bottom with U prime, R wide prime to put this at the bottom, and then U, R prime to flip this, and then U, R wide, R prime. So it's just an M prime, but I don't know why he did it like that. I think he thought he could insert it like this, but I don't know. So just R wide, R prime, and then U2. Then he saw this pair form at the bottom here, so he just went straight into that. R wide, U prime, R2, U, R prime, U prime, just like that. And one thing I like is he kept the white center on top, so that last move he did R prime, which is good. So I would have done pretty much the same thing, except you'll see what I'll do differently. So I would have just like that. Same beginning right there, M prime, solve that in the back. Now right here is where the difference is. Instead of doing R prime, I would have done R wide prime to prevent any regrips. So instead of doing two R primes, I'll do everything with R wides and R primes, so that would have been really fast. Now for his CMLL, Waffo did a sort of weird alg. He did U prime to recognize and then saw this, and then U prime again, and did R prime, U prime, R, U, L, U prime, R prime, U, X. Now, what that is a sexy sledge from the back, and what I don't like about it is that there's a rotation, and it puts a different center on top. So from here, I would have just done that. Now the LSC, there's not much to say here. It was a pretty easy solution. He did M prime to get the arrow, and then U, and then we have arrow in this, so M prime, U, M prime, except what happened is that these two came to the top, so he did M2, which should have just been an M, and then U, M2, U prime, M2, and there's a 4C skip. So just the only thing that's wrong with that was the M prime M2, and there's no reason to have that because you see this LR edge here and this one here. So you know once you do M prime U, the other one's in the back, this one's right here. So once you do M prime U, they're right here. So instead of doing M prime M2, you can just cancel and do M. So overall, the solve was pretty good. The only things I would say you should work on are just relearning CMLL. Your algs are probably like 6, 7 years old at this point, and I know Jabari made a set for you, so might want to learn those. And also for first block, looks to do more efficient first blocks. I think yours was like 14 moves or something. The mindset behind solving the pieces was good, except the rotations were bad, and that second pair, you could just see. You just need to work on doing like two things at once. So how I put the blue-orange corner on the bottom, while bringing the blue-orange edge up to the top. Since this video is a little short, and I think these solve critiques are beneficial, I'm gonna have two of them. So now I'll play a solve by Ryan Peh. Okay, so now we're just going to analyze Ryan's solve like we did with Waffos. So he saw this paired right here and decided to do this corner with this edge. So let's just M2 to pair them up in the back, and then U2 R wide prime F to join them like that. And then he had these two, and he did U R2 U2, gets them paired in the back, and then B2 solves them. So that's a really good first block. I would have done something almost identical. It's 8 moves, really nice. So I would have done M2, U2, R wide prime F, just like that. But for some reason, for this case, instead of doing UR2, I'm just used to doing U2 to put the corner in the back, and then R2U. It doesn't really make a difference, but that's just how I do it. And then B2. So that first block was good. I liked it. The only thing I would say is try not to regrip as much. I saw maybe 2 or 3. I couldn't really tell. But if you do have to regrip, then make sure... so like if your hand's like this, and then you need to do a U with your left hand, just make sure you do the U, and then you don't need to regrip, or if one hand's doing the moves, that gives your other hand time to do a regrip, so just make sure you plan that out. Oh, wrong cube. Okay, for his second block, he did this edge, so U2, and then flip this corner with RUR, and then he was looking for the edge that goes with it, and he paused and looked at the bottom. I don't know why he didn't see this one, but eventually he decided to do this pair. So he did U, M, U, M prime, and then solve this, R wide U, R wide prime, and then this right here, U prime, M, U, M2, and then insert in the back. So for my second block, I would have done something similar at the beginning, so just U2, RUR, to flip that and insert that, but I would have seen this and done U prime M2, insert in the back, and then R wide to bring this edge up to pair with this, U2, solve them. For his CMLL, he got the diagonal pie case, and he used my alg, just like that, and I would have done the exact same thing. Nothing to say there. For the LSC, he did these two flipped, so M prime U M to get arrow, and then U prime M prime U prime M prime, and then we have this and the one in the back, so M prime U2 M, and then U M2 U prime, and then he noticed he got a skip, so then he did U2 M2. So I would have, for this case, I usually do M prime U prime M to get arrow, and that actually gets me a better case, because now once I do M prime, they're opposite each other, but just something more advanced, you can just do M, and that's a 1-move EOLR. So then we have these 4 blue and green, and then these are paired up on the bottom, and then U M2, and then we have U, and then that was white, this is yellow, so M2. So yeah, I would have done that EOLR, but Ryan, if you're not there yet and you're not really looking into learning any EOLR, then all I would say about that LSC is don't do that U prime U2, but I know this is just a silly mistake. Overall, your LSC was your best step. CML and LSC took about 4 seconds, while your blocks took 6 seconds. Your first block was pretty good. I think it was about 2 seconds, but then your second block took 4 seconds, mainly just because of that pause when you looked at the bottom to try to find the red-green edge. So all I would say is just make sure while you're inserting the DR edge to right there when you flip that green-red corner, while you're flipping it, you have time to look around the cube and find the edge that goes with it. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.